useful. It's not something that's necessary in a society that takes seriously people's lives instead of money. It's not something that we need in a society that's created by people who care about one another and who care about taking care of people, learning, loving, being talented, learning to play music, learning to teach one another. None of these things have anything to do with nuclear power. We don't need it. And you know what? We don't need any of these new alternative technologies either that are just invented to make money, not to support us. If we're really going to have a world without radiation, we need to come together and build something new. We need to come together and fight Indian Point. We need to fight and help our comrades in Fukushima, in Japan, in all of the native reservations that have been destroyed all over the United States Southwest, in Canada, all over the natural disasters that are occurring in sub-Saharan Africa due to human causes. We need to come together to support hospital workers in New York City who are being cut every single day. We need to come together to support home care workers who are facing cuts, overwork with patients. We need to come together to support our students who are being told the only way they can learn is to go into debt. We need to come together, all of us, and see it's not just about radiation, it's about everything that causes it. It's about tearing down all of the nuclear plants, it's about tearing down the prisons, it's about tearing down the walls between our nations, and it's about supporting one another. So thank you guys, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
Shut it down! Fukushima, no nukes!
The city has people working on there's a commission that's working on an evacuation plan and making things better for disasters. That commission does not consider a catastrophic leak of radiation from New York City, from Indian Point. And what we need are people right here in New York City demanding that that plan consider what could happen if there was a catastrophic release of radiation at Indian Point. It's a project for New York City that we want to join in. And if there's anybody here willing to work on that, let me know, because we sure need, it's something that sure needs to be done. People talk about, well, we can't close down Indian Point because of the replacement. We've got to have electricity. We've got to have the electricity from Indian Point. Well, let me tell you, I came down here on the Metro North, I got on the subway, and there was no electricity from Indian Point involved. Your subway system, LaGuardia Airport, municipal buildings, the Great White Way, the subways are now nuclear free. New York Power Authority no longer purchases electricity from Indian Point, and that's because they got better deals cheaper elsewhere. And so could Con Ed. Con Ed still gets 550 megawatts of electricity from Indian Point. That's a tiny percentage of what this city uses. The market has already replaced Indian Point. What keeps it going? Corporation and corporate profit. That's what keeps it going. And also misinformation on the part of a lot of people. So everybody here needs to know and needs to talk and needs to be in touch with your new mayor. Indian Point doesn't seem to be on his radar screen yet, and I think people here could change that. So think about that. Think what you can do. Think about your town board. Go to them. Talk to them. We have a health and safety resolution. Be glad to talk to you about it, and I'd be glad to talk to more people about that replacement energy if you want some more information. And we can do this without additional generation. The best electricity, the best kilowatt hour, the best megawatt is the one you don't generate. We do not need gas-fired generation. We don't need it. We don't need it in this city. We don't need it in this state. We don't need a gas-fired plant to replace Indian Point. And those who tell you we do are not looking at the danger that gas does to the environment. It's not clean and it's not green. So gas and nukes are not clean, both of them. They're not clean and they're not green. What we need to do is bring in wind generation from wherever we can. There's a lot of it upstate. We need to improve the transmission lines, and we need to conserve, and I don't mean just you and I turning the lights off. I mean, we need to conserve in our communities. We need to conserve in every municipal building. We need a baseline carbon footprint, and we need to think seriously about how we can put solar on the roofs, how we can bring down peak demand. These are all things that we can do. And we can do it as a group, we can do it as a community. And that's what will replace Indian Point, to the effect that the market hasn't already. We have a strong grid, and we have people looking after it, the independent systems operator, and we don't need Indian Point. It's old, it's dangerous, and it's unnecessary. What do we want to do?
Shut it down!
When do we want to shut it down?
Now!
Thank you.
I was going to start out this talk by asking people if they knew where Montague, Massachusetts was, which is where I'm from now. Most people don't, except for Hartley, who came down here from up there. But the reason you don't know about it is because a nuclear plant never got built there. We stand on the shoulders of giants here today. People like the Clamshell Alliance that prevented a nuclear plant from ever getting built in Montague, Massachusetts. We still have them. They're scattered all over. But we also stand united. I did a little Googling before I got here. People all around the world, going back to the 1940s, have united to oppose nuclear power. And as I said, we stand on the shoulder of giants. Right here, the Consolidated Edison headquarters, founded by a gentleman whose name was Thomas Edison, whose one of his most famous quotes was, "There's so much power in the sun, I hope we don't have to wait until we run out of fossil fuels to use it." This is the danger we're facing right now. The thing that we have on our side is that we speak for truth and democracy. Solar power is available for everybody. You can witness it right here today. What do we call it when we have a spill of solar energy? It's called a sunny day. Yes, it's been making its way around. It's making its way around. We actually have a governor, we have a senator who are behind trying to make solar power the answer to closing down Indian Point. We want to install 1 gigawatt, 1,000 megawatts, the same amount of power from the nuclear plant in solar energy for New York City and Consolidated out of Westchester. Senator Parker from Brooklyn, as well as Governor Cuomo, will get behind this, but he needs to hear from us. Remember, solar power can shut down the nuclear plant.
So it goes, the first part is, 原発いらない。
原発いらない。
子供を守れ。
子供を守れ。
原発いらない。
原発いらない。
子供を守れ。
子供を守れ。
Song to courageous workers trying to keep the Fukushima nuclear plant from melting down, and we remind you that in New York we are endangered by the Indian Point power plant located within 40 miles of this street. Entergy owns this plant, and the nuclear industry owns the NRC, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Oh, Entergy says not to worry, 'cause earthquakes can't happen here, no. But under the Indian Point plant lurks the fault zone that's called Ramapo. Look at routes for evacuation. If Indian Point should melt down, go test drive those roads for escaping and learn you can't get out of town. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Indian Point is unsafe.
We know.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Indian Point has to go. The nuclear waste that is stored here is cause for us all to unite. If only we knew how to do it, we'd shut Indian Point down tonight.
Oh, NRC rule as you ought to. You know you should issue a ban to save New York State from such horrors as the tragic events in Japan. What do we have to do?
Shut it down, shut it down. Indian born is unsafe, we know. Shut it down, shut it down. Indian Point has to go.
Right now!
Indian Point is too close for comfort to anybody. It's in all of your backyards, not just mine. If something happens there, we are all in big trouble. Not just me, who's close. I can just assume the position easily. Down here, it's going to take you a lot longer. But it's bad, it's not good, and there's no reason for it. We don't need it. It's unnecessary, it's unsafe, it's just plain wrong. And if you think you need it, look again. You're paying for it on every level. You're supporting it with your taxes, you're supporting it with your rate paying, you're supporting it with everything, including with their not paying of taxes and not paying for insurance that your taxes have to pay for if something goes wrong. If you think that any reactor can be foolproof, it can't be. And that is the words of the NRC. Nothing can be foolproof. And even if it was, uranium mining is killing people of color on indigenous lands throughout this world, and including in America. There's no good nukes. There's only one way to have good nukes, and that's to have no nukes.
In a wonderful day, in this whole society, there are people who still believe in the safety of nuclear energy. There's so many out there still believe in that nuclear energy is a clean energy and which will not emit any CO2. Nuclear energy, it is not clean, it is not cheap, it is not green. The World Bank decided not to fund any more new nuclear energy power plants.
Yay!
Because they already know that it doesn't pay. And the Wall Street already know that nuclear energy is not profitable. And please understand that the children are forced to be there when the radiation max is 20 millisievert per year. This is ridiculous. If you apply the case of Chernobyl, above 5 millisievert per year to be evacuated, mandatory. Okay? This is almost like a national level of criminal. Let's save our children. Let's save our children. Everybody join us. What do you want? No nukes! When do you want? Now! What do you want? No nukes! When do you want? Now! Yeah, thank you very much.
Japan in Midtown, and we deliver a letter of demand to the Japanese government. Japanese government is now fully going towards promoting nuclear energy, both domestically and overseas, meaning they're trying to export nuclear energy overseas. None of the actions by the government is showing the responsibility for their part in the disaster. They're not disclosing all the information about medical tests and let alone radiation levels that people need to know about. And we are really concerned and mad about this crazy government that's going towards pro-nuclear right after this crazy accident and disaster and tons of people still suffering, right?
What do you want? No nukes! What do you want? Now! What do you want? No nukes! What do you want? Now! What do you want? No nukes! What do you want? Now!
So it has been 3 years since Fukushima nuclear disaster happened in 2011. Since then, tons of radioactive material are still leaking from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in every single day. Even though there are many people who want to evacuate, they are not able to move out because of cultural, political, and also financial reasons. Many of people are still dislocated and forced to live in the critical situation. Today, I'd like to share a voice of evacuees from Fukushima. She said that in places they evacuated, people's lives never become normal, even after 3 years. We don't get to settle because the Japanese government don't provide security for those who wish to evacuate. Another reason is that we still face a stigma that we are too afraid of radiation. Today, many evacuees are still separated from their families. Even those who decided to stay and live in Fukushima confront the daily struggle with gaps between what they feel and what they get from the mass media, which says they have nothing to worry about and the local food is safe to eat. Under such this pressures of the quote-unquote safety campaign, people cannot even express their fear of about the radiation to their neighbors. Instead, they are making most an obsessive effort to protect their children themselves by watching the water, food they eat, and restricting outdoor activities. And she also questioned that there is something so basic that we as a human being must be guaranteed, but it's ignored and also minimized. Why is that? We just want to protect our children, who are most vulnerable populations, and again, the thought and actions are being discounted. Why is that? They say it was a man-made disaster. However, there is no one who is being prosecuted for their responsibilities. Why is that? Is it because we are indifferent or ignorant? Was it our fault? These are voices from Fukushima evacuees, and people are confronting these circumstances in their daily lives. So while the nuclear disaster in Fukushima is considered as a Japanese problem, nuclear energy production is a global program operated by state-capital relations. This man-made disaster is due to their irresponsibility of state, nuclear industry, and their supporters who prioritize profit over people. Before we talk about alternative energies, we first must question a social structure which allows the existence of nuclear industry, including both power plant and also nuclear weapons as well. Fukushima to Indian Point.
Fukushima to Indian Point.
We are all connected.
We are all connected.
Fukushima to Indian Point.
Fukushima to Indian Point.
We are all connected.
We are all connected.
Thank you.
Fukushima. Indian Point.
Fukushima. Indian Point. Fukushima. Indian Point. Fukushima. Indian Point. Fukushima. Indian Point. Fukushima. Indian Point.
Shut it down! No nukes! Shut it down! Shut it down! No nukes! Shut it down!
Fukushima is still an ongoing nightmare. They can't even locate where the molten uranium fuel is under the plants because the radiation is so high that robotics won't even work. 3 years down the road, no end in sight. That's the nuclear legacy. And at the end of the journey, even if the plants don't fail, it leaves stockpiles of radioactive materials that will be mutagenic. It will kill your cells and create birth defects and cancer. Some of those radionuclides have half-lives of 250,000 years. Some uranium isotopes have half-lives of over 1 million years. Is this the legacy we want to leave for our descendants? I say no. Shut them down. Let's move into the future. The future is renewables. Let's be smart and move into the future with no nukes, no gas, no coal. Just life energy, not death energy.
Yeah, I heard already that the radiation's already on the